Welcome to another episode of the Brandon Lowe Show with Ryan Pritt. A fresh take on sports by two guys who think they're right even when they're wrong, which is a lot. Sports, movies, music, and, well, other stuff. So sit back, relax, turn it up, and join the journey into the unknown and maybe have a laugh or two. Here's your hosts, Brandon Lowe and Ryan Pritt.
All right, welcome into the Brandon Lowe Show with Ryan Pritt, brought to you by the Tent Guy over there on 25 Michigan Avenue. They're Nitro, quarter mile from the St. Albans Nitro Bridge, 304-380-2935. We had Tent Guy as our guest picker last week, and he went 13-7, had himself a good week.
Yep.
Joined by my co-host. There's, multiple at this point. Jack is officially just a co-host as well. We might as well just throw him in there too.
Why is my name not on there then?
Ryan Pritt, Gazette Mail. We can add it. Throw it in there. Hey, it's our call at this point.
Yeah.
The Brandon Lowe Show with Ryan Pritt and the beautiful Jack Withrow. That's what the show is now. And guest picker this week, one of our favorites, favorite guest. Just overall, just a great dude. Should be mayor of Charleston. Has 100 jobs. And has graced us with his presence once again. He is Chris Wade. Chris, thanks, man, for coming on and being our guest picker this week.
It's always a pleasure. Coming out of the bullpen duty, got my arm loosened up.
What the hell?
I'm ready to go.
Your internet isn't ready to go.
Yeah, dude, that sounded like, oh my God.
Sound like you got Optimum, because I'm pissed at them right now.
Yeah, your video.
Hold up. Let me,
You good now, I think. Is it good?
That's not good.
Okay.
Yeah, your internet was crapping out on us.
There we go. Yeah, man, you're on that Etch and Sketch package, dude.
I live in South Hills. I should have better service.
This is ridiculous.
All right.
I love you, Wade.
Am I out again?
Yeah.
Switch to LT.
Yeah, why'd you switch those phones? You should have just left it the way.
He was on the laptop, and now he was on.
Yeah, we need to go back to the laptop, I think. That one was working good.
All right, I
Yeah.
just logged in.
Yeah, he's get off Cricket Mobile.
I just logged into the internet, so hopefully it's better. All right, am I better now?
Yes.
Yeah, for right now.
Yeah,
I just logged into better internet service, so hopefully I'm better.
I thought that one didn't that guy with what was his name in the wheelchair, the scientist. I thought he was dead, but apparently he's our guest picker. What is his name?
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm good now. Switch to better service.
If
Stephen
you're out
Hawking
there,
has joined
if you're
us.
out there and you had Stephen Hawking on your bingo card today, you're the winner.
Stephen Hawking there's our guest picker, dude.
Things are so much more interesting when I hop on.
Yeah, you're that's the best entrance I think we've had since we started on Zoom.
Jack's dead. Jack is officially dead.
That's so great.
UC needs a new color guy. You hanging in over there?
I think he is dead, dude.
Yeah,
I think he is dead.
I'm good.
My good internet service. So.
That was great, dude.
Oh, I can't look at Ryan. He's killing me.
I was crying, dude. That was foolish.
I'm over here crying.
I think I can cut my service.
All right. Well, you got it good now, Brandon. We better go before we all lose it again.
Yeah. All right. Get
going out. I'm using my neighbor's Wi-Fi.
Well, thanks. Shout out Chris Wade's neighbor for the assistance here.
Just says he's still on the internet. Love it. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we
All
need
right.
to introduce this segment, or are we just
Sponsored by Make-A-Wish Internet Service. All right.
Wade will be
Right.
sending his Wade's gonna be sending his picks via Morse code?
Yeah. It's gonna be like
Sign language.
Oh goodness.
All right. We ready? We all
Yeah.
know the deal here, right? We're picking
Yeah.
10 high school games and 10 college games, and I'm Reese Davis, and here we go.
all right.
But more beautiful.
And a better beard. High school this week. We're gonna lead off. Got rankings again, guys. I'm getting more professional by the day.
All right.
Number 18, Parkersburg. At number 12, George Washington. Obviously, just judging from that, a big game for playoff ranking purposes. Game GW won 28-24 last year. Pretty close game. Lead the all-time series 14-11. Here's one thing. Both teams struggling a bit to run the football. Both of them are averaging less than 100 yards a game on the ground as a team. That obviously means big years for quarterbacks. For Parkersburg, it's David Parsons. He's thrown for 627 and 8 touchdowns in 4 games. And of course, for G-Dub, our guy, Abe Fenwick, 1,094 yards, 9 touchdowns, but he has been picked off 7 times. This one's going on the hill this week. Jack, you're to my right, then Brandon, then Chris. How are we seeing it, Jack?
I see this. This is a must-win game for both these teams. I mean,
Yes.
looking at their schedule, the upcoming schedule, GW's got Spring Valley and Woodrow Wilson. That Woodrow Wilson game is looming large, both for GW and Woodrow Wilson. Parkersburg, they still have Huntington, Spring Valley, and Musselman. Wow. Parkersburg needs to win with this one, but I don't think they will. GW, like you said, Abe Fenwick is putting it up through the air, and I think he has another good game this week on the hill.
Brandon.
Yeah, I think everything Jack made great points as far as the schedule. GW, as we know, the life in MSAC, covering this area is never fun, and there's no days off unless you go to places. There's 2 places, but I like GW. Sorry, Fenwick. GW is obviously a weird team because they've shown some flashes of brilliance and they've gotten some big wins, and then they've got smacked right in the teeth. So this is really kind of an identity to kind of define the identity of the team here. Are you a playoff team? Are you gonna rise up when you need a big win, or are you gonna fall on your face? But I'm gonna go GW on the hill. I think it's a great game though, because I do think Parkersburg, obviously both these teams are gonna play motivated, but I like GW at home with the arm of Fenwick.
Wade.
Big game for sure. Like most guest pickers on ESPN, sometimes I pick just random stuff, so random reasons. I live 1 mile away from GW, so give me the Patriots.
All right.
Like it.
I'm going to make it a sweep here. I agree. I think it's a defining game for both teams because, I mean, for Parkersburg, they've, picked up a couple wins over some lower tier MSAC schools, but they've lost to Parkersburg South and Midland, both by a bunch. So like Jack said, this is must-win territory for both these squads. By the way, I should have prefaced this by saying, we're on here with a goat of Pick'em today. Chris Wade made it a hobby of just wiping the floor with everyone else in the Gazette Mail over the last 5 years in our the one we used to run in the paper. So you boys better be on your games today. Wade doesn't play when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, can Wade go first before me now?
Not guests always last. That's how it works.
All right.
We're going to get to our next game. Number 6, Morgantown, who lost for the first time last week. That's Jack's Mohegans in a close one to Musselman. That's a big win for Musselman, by the way. But they're traveling to the Panhandle, the Northern Panhandle this time. Number 16, Wheeling Park. Big game for them, too. Park won this one 41-6 last year, and they've won 4 in a row in this series, which is a little bit hard to believe considering how good Morgantown's been. Park's a team we haven't got to, really. Quarterback Brett Phillips, about 1,217 yards and 12 touchdowns to go with 207 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Kid's putting together a hell of a year. And Jeray Hawkins, 484 yards receiving and 8 receiving touchdowns already for Wheeling Park. So, Jack, these are your guys here. This is your Morgantown team. Do they rebound on the road in a tough environment this week?
It's tough for Morgantown. This will be the 3rd week in a row that they have to travel. And when we say travel, I mean travel. Like you said, they went to the Eastern Panhandle 2 weeks in a row, and now the Northern Panhandle. And again, this is a must-win game for both of these teams. If you look down at their schedule, Morgantown, they've got Fairmont Senior, Parkersburg South, University, and Lindsley. Wow, that's tough. So they better win as much as they can now, or this week. Wheeling Park, they've got a tough schedule as well. Musselman, Brook, Parkersburg South, and John Marshall. So again, like I said, a must win, but I think the travel is going to wear on Morgantown, and I'm going to take Wheeling Park this week at home up on the island.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah, as Ryan and I know, Wheeling Park is, and we've been mentioning these being win games, and we're kind of hitting the fun part of high school football right now because, and we're getting more games on our belt. The teams are kind of finding out where these teams are at, and I really, I picked Morgantown on Wade's pick 'em, but I went back and forth with this, and Morgantown's a good team. If you look at their body of work, Bridgeport obviously pulled one out there at the end, but they're a good team and they play tough. But Park's just that type of program. When you hit, the mid stride of the season, they're at home, especially when they get in the playoffs. They're dangerous as any team. Like to put the ball through the air. So give me Park in a close one at home.
Wade.
As the great Lee Corso would say, not so, my friend.
Yes.
Really good game too. When I go to Morgantown, when I always come back, it's usually because I've been drinking, but I always say Morgantown always wins. So in this case,
I've seen that.
Morgantown always wins. So give me Morgantown.
Love it.
Tough game, man. This is a toss-up, and a lot of it's because Wheeling Park's one of these teams that play a lot of their schedule on the road. They've obviously played a lot of teams from out of state. Their only win, and I wanted to bring this up because we need to shout out University High real quick. Remember last week I told you there'd be a pretty intriguing team down the stretch, and boy, did they pick up a big win last week, knocking off Fairmont Senior. So that 22-point win that Park has over University looks a little better this week. I think they sweep Morgantown, and I think they take a close one this week too. I'm with Wheeling Park. So from one of Jack's teams to another one of Jack's teams, the Chapmanville Tigers at home. That's number 14, Chapmanville. At home against number 17, Herbert Hoover. We keep bringing up these must-win games, Jack. I think this one's another one. Hoover won this one by a cool 55-7 count last year. But, we've talked about Brody Dalton a lot, and for good reason. We need to start talking about Cole Farmer, man. You're talking 614 yards and 13 touchdowns on the ground for Chapmanville. Obviously, Chapmanville hung around with Scott last week before falling. It's a good Scott team. We know that. Pivotal battle in the Cardinal here, Jack, and in the AA playoff picture. So who you got this week?
I like Chapmanville, but Herbert Hoover, I think, is starting to get it going. They've got all their most of their guys back now because they dealt with some injuries there early. And 467 yards is rushing what they had last week. That's rolling. I don't care who you are. I'm going with Herbert Hoover. This should be a good game, though, down in Chapmanville.
Brandon.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't checked with Joey about the health of the team, but
are you getting any insider information this week?
I didn't. No, I didn't. This time.
Last week.
I did. No, I mean, obviously point system and all that stuff when it comes to playoffs. We've talked about this, but Hoover's sitting at 17. This is obviously a huge game. Spoiler alert, hot take. So I like Hoover. As Jack said, they weren't healthy in the beginning of the season. They still hung around. They're still competitive. It's a very talented team, obviously. So this is another big game for Hoover to gain some traction and get back into that top 16 to be able to, at least for the time being, grab at least a playoff seed. So I'm taking Hoover.
Wade.
I think this is a true toss-up. I've actually covered Herbert Hoover twice this year. Saw him last week. What's cool about them is the progression of their offense. When you think of Hoover, they throw the ball all around, but like Jack said, they ran for over 450 yards last week. So they took whatever the defense gave them, and so I think it could go either way. Hoover does have some of their players back, but they're one of the best receivers come back from injury and got suspended for this game. He's got 2 personal fouls last week, so tough blow there. But I'm going to give a slight edge to Hoover. I think they can do enough on offense, either run or pass, to get it done.
Wade goes inside info when Brandon doesn't have any. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go Hoover too. It scares me that we all go Hoover here because I agree with Wade. I think this is, if you were putting a line on this, I think it's -1. This is going to be a really good game, but I think Jack made a good point. I think Hoover's found some traction after that early tough start, and a couple wins will do wonders, man. And they've strung 2 together, and I think they got it going in the right direction. I like Hoover on the road. Now let's go to the number 1 team in all the land in Class AA. That is my boy Darren Hayes and his undefeated North Marion Huskies at home, getting tested for the first time against number 11 Fairmont Senior. I got some numbers here for you guys. Fairmont won this one 20-14 last year. That made 18 in a row in this series. The last time North Marion won a game against Fairmont Senior was 2 days shy of my 19th birthday. We're talking September 5th, 2003.
Wow.
Been a while for North Marion. Senior coming in pissed off after a loss, the aforementioned loss to University. Jack, is it 19 in a row this year?
I mean, you look at these 2 schedules that these 2 teams have played. Fairmont has played a tough schedule. They do every year, and we see that. North Marion, not so tough, but North Marion is a very good team. And like you said, Darren Hayes has got it rolling up there. Fairmont, and if I'm reading correctly on some stuff, they're a little banged up. So I think this is going to be a good game, another tight game. But I'm going with the homestanding Huskies this week over Fairmont.
Brandon.
Yeah, I agree with Jack once again. And I think you're correct, Jack. There was some stuff about, the team health or whatever. But I honestly, this feels like another year where Fairmont Senior might be a 16 seed and win a state championship just based off their schedule. As Jack said, every year they obviously play a tough schedule, and that helps them obviously down the stretch when it comes to postseason play. They come in there, but I'm going to tell you, this isn't the playoffs, Ryan. So I like the Huskies at home. If this was a playoff game, I'd be like, we know that Coach Hayes is always right there. He's just on the cusp, and then he hits the playoffs and he runs into a team like Fairmont Senior. So give me the Huskies at home.
Wow. Wade.
Not so fast, my friends, on this one. There's a couple things I hardly ever pick against. One of them is Tom Brady. Another is Fairmont Senior. It's hard for me to pick against Fairmont Senior. So for that reason, give me the Polar Bears.
Okay.
This is really odd. Brandon, Jack, and I are now 5 for 5 on Pick'em this week. I'm sorry, 4 for 4. I thought I was going to sneak one past you guys with the Huskies, but you already know where I'm going with this. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'll take North Marion. Polka, as predicted by one of us, picks up their first win of the year last week in a convincing 41-7 lambasting of Mingo Central. They're on the road at rival Sissonville. And when I say rival, how about this, guys? All-time series, 35-2. So somebody's taking the lead in this series this week, most likely. Sissonville 0-5, but I think Wade got to see them last week. They played a little tougher than their record may indicate last week. Polka has a victory now in the win column. Jack, can they make it 2 on the road?
I like the Dots. I like what they're doing, what they did last week. I picked against them, and I apologize to Dot Nation from my heart. I'm sorry. So I'm going with the Dots this week over Sissonville, even though it is homecoming at Sissonville this week. So.
By the way, maybe the best homecoming in the Kanawha Valley and beyond. Sissonville does it right for homecoming. If you guys have never been, please go. Brandon, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think Polka is going to ruin that homecoming as well. I didn't know that there was 35-2 on the series, but honestly, I think this might be the closest you probably will have because both these teams have different issues for different reasons. But And I apologize to the pastor / coach over there at Sissonville, but I'm going coaching here in this one, Seth Ramsey, and just a little more, just maybe a fumble, maybe something happens there. I think it's really, really close. But I also like that Polka found something. I know Mingo isn't the normal Mingo they usually are this year. But man, to get a win 41-7 over Mingo like that, that does wonders, as we've talked about previously about other teams as far as confidence. I think we're talking about Hoover and other teams like that. So I like Polka to continue, but I think this is a great game.
Wade.
I will be at this game, so I was going to go to Bowles Boys Barbecue for barbecue, but I'll be caught in that parade, so it looks like I'm not going to be able to do that. So that makes me a little angry. So I'm going to pick Polka. Actually, I probably would have picked Polka. If you asked me last week, I probably would have picked Sissonville. But seeing that Polka score, I know Mingo Central is not great, but give me the dots.
I want to take you guys back to 1994, the very first year that the Super Six was at Wheeling Park.
I know who you're picking.
Then 10-year-old Ryan Pritt in attendance for the AA state championship game, Polka v. Sissonville. And Bob Limley broke Ryan Pritt's heart that night as the
you
Docs
cried
ripped off a 19-0 win. Sissonville gets its revenge this week and gets in the winning column. I'm going with my homestead and my birthplace. Sissonville, close.
I love how you picked the game. You picked a game for when you're 10, getting revenge.
That was a big deal. Hey, that's Sissonville team. I've never rooted harder for anything in my life than I did that.
I love it though. You're like, they're going to help my 10-year-old self.
Yeah,
they're going to get them.
Some much needed therapy from now on.
I love it.
All right, moving on to a pair of unbeatens. You want to talk about how tough life is in single A? How about undefeated Doddridge and undefeated Wirt? And this is a matchup of number 8 versus number 13. Tough room over there in Class 8. About time we give a shout out to Wirt County, man. 4-0 in the year. Good to see them up there. Of course, Doddridge we're used to seeing up there. This is nothing new for them. This is one of Brandon's teams right here. Bulldogs won this one 34-0 last year. They've won 9 in a row in this series dating back to 2012. For Doddridge, Seth Richards, 620 yards. He's averaging 155 on the ground a game. But how about this? Wirt County, Chase Lowe, 500. Your name, Brandon. How about that? 564 yards and 17 touchdowns in 4 games on the ground. Pretty good when you're averaging.
That's good genetics.
Touchdowns a game. Yeah. Huge game here, obviously, and a really big one for Wirt at home. This has to be one of the bigger Wirt County home football games in quite some time. Jack, can Wirt break the string of 9, or does Doddridge run it to 10?
In 1994, I was 23 years old. I was on the island in Wheeling.
You were not. You're already lying.
That Class AA matchup. By the way, 1994 South Charleston Black Eagles state champions again.
That's true.
But anyway, I got to go Dogs.
He was not 23 years old. There's no way.
You got an audience behind you now taking jabs at me?
Brandon, if you're still with us.
By the way, Hunter America is probably one of the greatest names in high school football ever.
It really is, yeah.
But you said the Lowe kid, right? 17 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wirt County, right?
Yeah.
I'm going Wirt, baby.
Oh.
I'm going Wirt at home. I got to root for my Lowe boy up there. So, 17 touchdowns. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. So, obviously got a lot of love for Dodgers, but Wirt at home. Give me that. Give me Wirt County. Why not?
Suede.
I'm not going to lie. I've not seen one Class A football score all season long. But I think Doddridge has got a better program. They're ranked higher. So give me Doddridge.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to take Doddridge too. I think it's a good game. I think Wirt probably grabs the lead early, but too much Doddridge late. And I like the team that's been tested a little more. This one may seem like a mismatch on paper. Number 5.
You guys hear my wife yelling at the kids in the background?
I do, yeah. Number 3, Independence. They're 5-0. They're hosting 1-4 Bluefield. This is just the second all-time meeting between these two, and the first one was last year when Indy won this one 34-20 in the playoffs. been a rough go for Bluefield. They've lost 28-7 to Princeton, but their other 3 games against Graham, Pulaski, and Woodrow by a combined 9 points. Tough. Indy, meanwhile, all they've done in 5 games is outscore Liberty, Oak Hill, Poca, Shady Spring, and Westside by a combined 300-8. 60 a game, giving up less than 2. There has not been a more dominant team in West Virginia high school football this year so far than Indy. Jack, even at 1-4, I think this is a little bit of a step up for Independence in terms of competition. Does Bluefield have enough to get past Indy?
Wait a minute. The boys over in Charmco at Greenbrier West haven't allowed a point all season. So hold up on the most dominant. Anyway,
they scored
I'm going
300?
with Independence. 267, I believe. But anyway, okay. I'm going with Independence.
Indy still got the advantage in point difference. Go ahead, Brandon.
I had to throw Charmco in there.
Yeah,
there you go.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, despite having one of the worst mascots ever, because we're tired of Patriots, but yeah, you know, Bluefield obviously has had tough sledding all year. We know they're talented. We know the program. They got kids, but it's tough to bet against that. And Indy did that last year, though. Remember that, Ryan? I mean, they put up a bunch of points, and I know you and I were really high up on them when we were picking our playoff stuff last year. And I think it continues. I think Indy gets the win.
Wade.
Independence. I'm going. My buddy Rusty Udy from Beckley says he wouldn't be surprised if Bluefield wins this game. I think it's be really close, a lot closer than some people may think. But give me Independence.
Hold on, who told you that? Your buddy? Who's that?
Rusty Udy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Okay.
I kind of agree, Wade. I was this close to taking Bluefield. I like the team that's tested, and Bluefield has certainly been that. They've played the tougher schedule by far. And I think early that catches Indy. I think Indy's got to play from behind in this one. I do think they win. I like this team a lot. If I had to pick today who's winning the AA title, it's probably Indy. But I like what you said. I think it's a lot closer than people think.
Bluefield might be the best 1-4 team in the state.
But yeah, I'd go out on that limb with you. I think that's probably true. So let's go to this one. Midland Trail sitting here at 4-1 and not ranked in Class A. A little tough down there. They're on the road at number 10, Nicholas County. Nicholas won this one 47-22 last year, leads the all-time series 16-7, and they're coming off a bye after a nice win over Lincoln the week before. Little single A on double A crime here, Jack. This would be a huge win for Midland Trail if they could get it. Tough place to play. Love that little joint in Summersville. It's a good field, good environment. Can the home team prevail?
Hey, you ever seen a grizzly tear up a patriot? It's like a salmon. He just grabs it and mauls it. And show up Friday night. That's what's going to happen. Nicholas County.
Sorry about that. Brandon.
That sounds like a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, doesn't it?
The Revenant.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I mean, it's tough, man. You like to see Midland Trail get this win. Obviously, it'd be a great for that community, and obviously they get the points. That'd be awesome. 4-1, but Nicholas County, I mean, we've seen the success they've had, and so I like Nicholas County in this one. They should take care of business.
Wade.
Double A versus single A. That's all I got to say. Give me Nicholas County.
Yeah, I agree. I'll just love that venue. They got a nice home field advantage down there, man. I got to cover a playoff game down there once. Really enjoyed it. Good place. I'll take Nicholas County too. I think they're a sleeper in double A, by the way.
Did you do some fishing while you were down there?
I can't remember.
Was it legal?
No, it was like, no, this was a playoff game. It was like
it was
14
cold.
degrees.
Yeah, it was cold. All right. Yeah. Okay.
I did eat in that Mexican joint down there in the Summersville Plaza. That place is pretty good. Can't remember what it's called. So if you're out there, shout out to you guys. Another single A team who's 3-1, St. Mary's, and also out of the playoffs right now at number 20. Williamstown not out of the playoffs. 4-0, ranked number 1 in the state. And this is definitely a matchup of what has been perennial powers in this division for quite some time. Some really good games between these two. including last year when Williamstown picked up a close 17-13 win. Jackets have now won 4 in a row. This one's been a series that's been contested for a while. St. Mary's leading the all-time series 57-34-1. I'm not a mathematician, but that looks like 92 to me. So definitely not strangers here. Williamstown comes in undefeated, the number 1 team in the state, Jack. Got a tough opponent coming in and 2 teams that know each other really well. Do we see an upset here in Williamstown this weekend?
If St. Mary's was healthy, this would not be an upset. St. Mary's would be favored. They lost their top running back coming back, which is the 100-meter dash state champion in Class A and Roush. He just got offered by UC to play football and to run track down there, but he's out with an injury, had surgery. They've got another good running back, Ramsey, but I don't think it's enough for Williamstown. If Roush was still there, it would be a toss-up game, but I'm going Williamstown.
Brandon.
Jack, thank you for that insider information.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jack.
No, Williamstown's obviously done a great job taking care of business so far, and they've earned their number 1 ranking. St. Mary's we talked about, and everybody knows their body of work as a program. Fortunate about that young man being injured. That sucks, and we wish him obviously well in the future there, and hopefully UC picks him up. That'd be awesome. But I'm gonna go Williamstown for sure.
Wait.
I'm a West Virginia State graduate, so I can't pick against the Yellow Jackets. So give me Williamstown.
These are the one-word Yellow Jackets, though, right? Is that correct?
Close enough.
How do you pick against the Blue Devils that wear purple?
I know. I wanted to pick them because they wear purple. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm doing it too. I'm taking Williamstown. Finally, game of the week here in high school, and been a lot of good candidates this week, but I don't think there's much argument here from anybody. Bridgeport at Parkersburg South, and this is Jack's Parkersburg South team against Brandon's Bridgeport team, right? 6th meeting total overall. We mentioned dominant teams. South outscoring opponents 305-62, by the way. Not too shabby. They are ranked number 1 in the state of West Virginia in Class AAA. About to find out a lot about South, Jack. They've got Bridgeport, and then I believe they play your Mohegans after that. Starts here, though. Got it at home. Bridgeport, of course, 2 completely different styles. How do you see this one going? Who dictates the pace this week?
I think Parkersburg South dictates it this week as well. They've got weapons everywhere. Got a great quarterback, of course, Cyrus Straw. We've talked about him on this program before. So I think it's just too much firepower there for the Patriots.
Brandon.
You know that Jack's 140 when he says program. Like we're on PBS. Anyway, no, I'm just throwing at you because I'm picking Bridgeport, baby. I got it down that hill. I think Parkersburg South's amazing. And this is the only time, but here's what I'll say. As you said, Ryan, that's the biggest part of this game. But Bridgeport, the biggest thing Bridgeport can do is set the pace, run the football, take some clock, get some turnovers here and there if they can. Jack is right, though. South has weapons all over the place. So, but I'm taking Bridgeport, man. I'm gonna down that hill. I'll take them. And if they don't win, just a safety here, I think it is close, though.
Wade.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a very close game. I'm over in the corner of my house. I'm looking at it. I got some shirts that Mike Fallon sent me, Parkersburg South boys basketball coach. So it's on the end of the couch. So I can't go against Parkersburg South. They've been murdering people left and right. This will be close, but give me Parkersburg South.
Yeah, I think this is the game South's been waiting on, right? I mean, they've beaten up on a lot of teams, and they take a step up this week. This is their chance against a blue blood, and I think they own it, man. Jack's got me convinced on these guys. I like him at home in that venue with a chance to make a statement to the rest of the state. I think Parkersburg South by a couple touchdowns. How about that?
I feel bad too because I think Parkersburg. I mean, I'm with you, Ryan. I should be listening to Jack. I should pick them, but I'm sticking with Bridgeport.
Yeah, I just like the weapons on the outside for South, and yeah. So Do you want to shout out our sponsor real quick before we shift gears here?
Yeah. I was just about to say before we get to the college football picks, want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Tent Guy, John Wheeler, who obviously was on with us last week, 13-7. He came close. He came close to Keith Morehouse, who's leading our guest picker standings there, top 3. And was he number 2 now?
Yeah.
Tent Guy. Yeah. Give him a visit just off 25 there over Nitro. Michigan Avenue is the official street there. Quarter mile from St. Albans Nitro Bridge. Give him a call, 304-380-2935. Again, 380-2935. Give the Tent Guy a call for all your tenting needs. All right, Ryan, let's knock out these college football games.
All right, I did leave Marshall off this week. They're playing the Sisters of the Poor University. I'm not doing that.
Gardner-Webb, huh?
Yeah, when the herd returns to FBS competition, we'll get back to Marshall. So we are going to do WU, though, because as I well know, I'm hitting the road at 5 o'clock in the morning. I should say the skies, whatever. We're flying to Austin, Texas this week, boys, and it should be a good one. 2-2 West Virginia, 2-2 Texas. The Horns coming off of a bitter overtime loss to Texas Tech in a game they probably should have won. And I think pretty inarguably West Virginia coming off their best performance of the year in a 33-10 win at Virginia Tech. By the way, here's a little piece of trivia. The only school in the Big 12 Texas has a losing record to is West Virginia. WU leads this series 6-5. Texas a 9.5 point favorite. Seems a little high to me, I think. Jack, what's the feeling here?
Feeling isn't good for WU. I think it'll be a good game. WU's played well against Texas. I like WU's offense, like I said last week. That has never been an issue. But I think Texas comes back pissed off. Probably the best running back in the nation they've got. And he fumbled last week. He never fumbles, so he'll probably never fumble again. So I'm going to go with Texas on this one. Oh, by the way, 1890, when I was at West Virginia Tech, we played Gardner-Webb in the NAIA division.
That's the first bit of honesty we've had on this show all night.
I love how you owned it. That's why I love you, Jack. It's interesting because both these teams arguably could both be undefeated, and we could be talking about an ABC game at this point because Texas should have beat Alabama if they didn't give a bullshit, rough in the passer. I've never seen that where a guy's getting tackled, he's still up, and whatever, and they didn't get the safety on that, and it is what it is. They lost. Texas has lost Ewers, which we don't. A lot of people think he's going to come back, which we saw that. He was practicing, and I think that shocked a lot of people, but I don't expect him to be back. But regardless, Texas has 5 guys. If Ewers is back, am I saying his last name right? Is it Ewers? Am I saying that right? Okay. Ewers. Okay. If he's back, they got 5 5-star kids just on their offense alone. And you look at all the skill set they have, obviously we talked about the running back. He's the best in the country. Ryan, obviously breaks this down for the Gazette, being the WVB writer, and has to do all these opponent previews before the season. And, you were high up on them, obviously outside of Kansas State. A lot of people to have on the radar, which by the way, shout out to Kansas State getting a big win over Oklahoma, but
we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I got it on tap.
Yeah. So the mayor of Little Manhattan's definitely going to have that. But, Texas and West Virginia, you look at West Virginia has killed themselves. They killed themselves in the Pitt game. They killed themselves in the Kansas game. They came together, obviously, against Towson. And, that was their best performance, you said, Ryan, against a decent FBS team and a rival. By the way, I need to ask you, how was that Enter the Sandman in person?
It was pretty amazing. I don't know if I sent you guys this. I spent the whole first quarter down on the field. I wanted to be down there.
My God, on TV. Even on TV, it was amazing. I don't care what you say about Virginia Tech. It was outstanding. Shout out to them to getting the shot too when they come out. They had W come out at the same time after obviously Bautek came out, and it is did a tremendous job. It pumps you up for that game. But I think the biggest thing again is if West Virginia can we talk about Gary Patterson joining that staff with Texas, that defense, they brought back a lot of a lot of upperclassmen, at least experience in that Texas defense. They look completely different than last year. I think that's a big deal. And that's going to be a key. And if W's offensive line can hold up and give JT some time and they can get that running game going, I think W can hang in. But ultimately, as much as I want to pick W, I think the spread's terrible. I think 9.5 or whatever you said, 9 or whatever. I think it's terrible. I think it's way closer than that. I think Texas just has enough, and I think W shoots themselves in the foot as they tend to do. I think Texas ends up, and by the way, Neil Brown, I think since his senior has not won 3 games in a row since he's been the coach there at W. So I'm going to take Texas in a close one, but I think it's going to be a good game.
Wade.
Yeah, I think point spreads are way too high. Indeed, I think W has a really good shot of winning this game. I like to say Texas is back. Currently, they are not back, but if they beat W, they will be back. So Texas is. Give me Texas.
Hey, Wade, the U's back too. So
yeah, I may have missed on that one.
Shout out to Middle Tennessee. We won't get to them today, but we saw it. Congrats.
Former Florida State quarterback.
Yeah, imagine that. Marshall's doing all right with a former Florida State running back, as I've noticed too. Yeah, I like Texas too. I think it's really close. The spread, I kind of echo what you guys say. The spread's terrible. I don't know where they got 9.5. That almost seems like free money to me, but I won't bet because every time I bet, I'll lose. So I'm not going to do that to anybody. Yeah, I like Texas at home, close, maybe by a field goal. Just too much Bijan Robinson, man. That kid, we probably don't talk about him enough, and a couple of injury problems have kind of kept him from statistically being on top of the rushing stuff nationally, but that kid's as good as anybody, man. I'd probably take him first overall if I had to draft a running back out of this class. So, yeah, Texas, Bijan Robinson, too much.
Can I just add this before we get to the next game? I forgot to mention this. I think the biggest thing, obviously, the strength of W's D line. I think obviously they're going to have to continue that, but I just think the biggest thing, as far as I just feel like this game is going to rip W's hearts out. Like you're going to be a fan sitting there and you're like, oh my God, they're really going to, I could see them being up even by 10.
I feel like
in the third quarter.
I feel like that's every W game.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying this is a game where you're like, hey, we got momentum here. They're carrying us over Virginia Tech. And then you're in the other room drinking an entire bottle of whiskey. Anyway, carry on.
If I were to ask you guys who led the country in passing, who would you guess?
Michael Penix.
You weren't guessing. You looked this up. My boy Wade doing his research.
That's
right.
Schedule.
Yeah, that's true too. Our boy Brandon, Indiana transfer Michael Penix, averaging 347 a game through the air.
Yeah,
about 12 touchdowns and just 1 pick. How about that? Pretty good stuff there.
Hey, by the way, Troy Aikman can eat. You know what? For giving that little blow to Indiana on Monday Night Football. I heard that, Troy Aikman.
But, Washington sneakily is one of the more dominant teams in college football. They're 5th in total offense. They're 22nd in total defense. You're in the top 25 of both of those things. You're usually pretty good. Meanwhile, UCLA just kind of creeping around. They struggled a little bit a couple weeks ago with South Alabama, only won by a point. But they beat Bowling Green, Alabama State, and Colorado. Not exactly Murderers Row, admittedly. They beat them by a combined 135-41. UCLA's first real shot to make a statement nationally. Both these teams undefeated. Washington, a 2.5-point favorite on the road. Weird things happen on the road. Weird things happen in college football, period, Jack. So UCLA at home with a chance to make the statement. Who makes the statement this Saturday?
Not the UCLA fans. It'll be 14,500 announced crowd at this game. 14,000 of them would be from Washington. So I'm going with the Huskies.
Wow. Brandon.
I actually like the momentum that Chip Kelly is getting at UCLA finally. And, he's had a couple years under his belt. We talk about a coach that needs at least 4 years, as we talked about Neil Brown before, getting a recruiting class in. And I've had the chance to catch a little bit of UCLA. I've watched a little less than Washington, as crazy that is, them being the more successful nationally ranked team. But I like UCLA at home. Vegas has given us 2 points, UCLA at home. So you kind of look at that. It stinks a little bit, but I like UCLA. I think this is a statement win for Chip Kelly and the Bruins. I think they're heading in the right direction. And this is so Pac-12, isn't it? Washington gaining momentum. They're 15th in the country. They go to UCLA. They're 4-0, and now UCLA gets a win. So I'm getting UCLA
I like that pick. Wade.
Usually in toss-up games, I have a history of picking games. I usually pick the home team, but UCLA, like Jack said, has no home crowd. So with that said, give me the Huskies on the road.
Yeah, I'm not picking against Michael Penix, man. This kid's a winner, and he's got one last shot here. We mentioned Indiana and the way that thing kind of happened in a COVID year, and it fell apart, and he was battling injuries. This kid's for real, man. I love watching this kid play. And yeah, I think Washington wins. I think they win big. I think Washington may be a legit contender in the Pac-12, which probably means they're going to get beat by 21 Saturday. So you're welcome, UCLA. Showdown game in Wade's favorite conference. This is the SEC. Number 7, Kentucky. No, we're not talking basketball. Let's say it again. Number 7, Kentucky, 4-0 at number 14, Ole Miss. Rebels doubling the Wildcats up in the all-time series, 28-14-1, and they've won 2 in a row in 6 of the last 8. Both these teams with some strong defenses, man. UK's 17th in total defense. Ole Miss is 29th. Kind of similar schedules. Both have had their struggles against some inferior opponents. For Ole Miss, it was Tulsa last week. For Kentucky, it was Northern Illinois. Ole Miss a 7-point favorite in this one, so full touchdown in Mississippi. Jack, who wins the SEC battle this week?
I'm going all hottie toddies this week.
That's Ole Miss for anyone that didn't know what that meant. I got you though.
I mean,
Brandon.
if you're watching this show, you better know what
I've been drinking toddies all night. Brandon.
Yeah, I'm never gonna pick UK just because our former GM played football there. No, I'm kidding. But he wore that ugly blue jacket. No, I've honestly watched both these teams. Lane Kiffin, I mean, we talked about Chip Kelly at UCLA, and obviously Lane Kiffin's been there a little shorter period of time. But how about a defense finally? That's always good, isn't it? Lane Kiffin, his offense has always been intact, but a little defense there. What time's this game, Ryan? Is this 3:30 CBS?
11. Well, it says 11 a.m. So I guess that's 12 a.m. or noon our time, 11 a.m. Central Time.
Okay, I like that even better.
It is homecoming, though. Homecoming for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I like that. Fans are good and drunk, and Ole Miss just has a beautiful campus. Those folks should be rowdy. Should be a great game, but I'm taking Ole Miss.
Wade, this is your conference, man. I'm leaning on you for knowledge here.
I do love me some SEC. Kentucky's already got a big road win in the year. They beat Florida because Florida's quarterback kept throwing the ball to Kentucky. So they can win on the road. But Lane Kiffin is my favorite coach in college football. So give me Ole Miss.
Really? Why is that, may I ask?
I just like I like people with big personalities. And
who's got big balls?
Yeah, big balls. I like people with big balls.
Go ahead and say it, dude. He's got big balls.
I think Brandon, have you been drinking toddies all night? What's that?
No, he just got no. I've had like 2 beers. No, he just got big. Lane Kiffin doesn't care. I love Lane Kiffin's personality too.
Yes.
I hate to break the news to you, but you're all wrong here. I'm taking Kentucky on the road. I think Mark Stoops has done one of the most underrated jobs in the last 5 years of anyone in the country. If you look at the progression of this program, I think he's got him in a really good spot. I really like Kentucky's defense. I think they're really good on that side of the ball. And I like their defense better than Ole Miss's still. I mean, you can point to statistics, but Ole Miss gave up 27 last week to Tulsa. And before that, it wasn't exactly Murderer's Row. It was Georgia Tech, Central Arkansas, and Troy. So until I see Ole Miss do it against somebody decent, I don't trust it. I've already seen Kentucky do it against somebody decent. I'm taking Kentucky in a low-scoring game on the road. Getting back to the Big 12, where I feel like we're just going to put 4 Big 12 games in here every week because anytime any of them play another one, it's a good game, right? I mean, at this point, what's not a good game in the Big 12? I don't know. They're all good. But we're going to start it here. We got a few of them on the slate. Oklahoma, who proved to be overrated, just like I said they were last week, in another home loss to Kansas State. Kind of get owned by Kansas State and Norman, actually. It's an odd thing. But enter 3-1. Is there a quieter 3-0 team in the country than TCU right now? Just went on the road, handled Colorado, won a pretty big rivalry game over SMU last week. Oklahoma leads this series 17-5. They've won 8 in a row in this series, by the way. And, it's flipped the script in college football right now. It's Big 12 defenses and run game. How about the fact that Oklahoma's 12th in rushing, TCU's 21st? Oklahoma's Eric Gray, who you probably never heard of for some reason. He's second in the league in rushing. He's averaging a hundo a game. Big chance here for Oklahoma to get it righted, and a huge chance for TCU to make its statement here, Jack. Big game as they all are in the Big 12. Oklahoma 6.5-point favorite. How does this turn out?
I like TCU at home in this one. Oklahoma does not figure it out this week. And before anything else, Ryan, we got to give you credit. Back in the summer, you told us that the winner of the Big 12 could have 3 losses. And that's what this is looking like.
Yep.
I mean, this is probably the best 1 to 10 all the way down through conference in the nation. Of course, they don't have, the SEC top dogs like Alabama and Georgia. They don't have the Ohio State. But conference-wise, I mean, this is the best conference. And it's a shame because they're just going to beat up on each other. And I doubt anybody makes the playoffs. But give you credit, back in the summer, you said the winner of the Big 12 could have 3 losses. So that's what it's looking like. But this week, I like TCU at home.
Brandon.
Yeah, they echo the sentiments of Jack. And then I listened to Joel Klatt on his podcast talk about this, the fact that the Big 12 is the best conference when it comes to competition from 1 to 10. I tweeted out the fact that would you think that the Big 12, and we're early, but the Big 12 would look like it is right now with Kansas on top. And by the way, a crime that Kansas is in the top 25. I think it's ridiculous.
Hey, I did my part.
Yeah, as some AP, as was say, some AP voters just isn't doing their job, as Joel Klatt even said on Colin Cowherd this week. But and that's the only time I listen to that show, by the way, when Joel Klatt's on there. But I honestly, this and again, this is why this playoff field should be expanded, because of the fact that you get punished for having a competitive, very good conference. But yeah, I mean, if you look at Oklahoma, I watched that Kansas State game. Kansas State has owned Oklahoma the last, couple of years anyway, especially even in Norman. But they, Kleiman has just done such a tremendous job of developing that tough culture Kansas State has anyway. And he had that in his last stop before he got to Kansas State, and that's why they hired him. He just fit into that culture. And as you said, Ryan, it's interesting. It's almost like you're watching Big Ten football right now, because you're talking running game, you're talking defense. You look at Kansas, what they're doing. They're playing like old school spread. It's like stuff we saw when Rich Rod was in Morgantown, where they're running like the quarterback, and it's just interesting to see that. But yeah, I'm not going to go against Oklahoma, though. I think TCU has done a really good job. I thought it was tremendous that TCU's coach, coming from SMU, was able to harbor some of those emotions and be able to knock them off. And they're rivals. I mean, I know people don't talk about that a lot because, SMU isn't a power, they're out in the Power 5 or whatever. But that was a good win by them. And I know it's going to be on the road. But, I think Oklahoma sneaks it out. I think Vegas probably got it right. I wouldn't be surprised if it's under. I mean, they might win by a field goal. I think TCU plays this game tight, but I like Oklahoma to sneak one out.
Wade.
Oklahoma's coach is gone. Some of their best players went with him. Nowhere near as good an Oklahoma team as usual, but I'm not picking TCU over Oklahoma. Give me Oklahoma.
I'm with Jack. I said it, in the summer too, that, when you looked at that Oklahoma on paper, you're talking 14 starters are gone. This team has a lot of questions to answer to me. And Dylan Gabriel is a really good player. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know that he's Caleb Williams. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not Baker Mayfield. This isn't the same Oklahoma team. And I think a new coaching staff, a new system, it's going to take a little bit for them to find their footing. And like I said, TCU's already had a bye week. They've won 3 games. They've been good wins, and no one has said one word about TCU at any point when we've talked about the Big 12. And this is their chance at home in Fort Worth to get a big one. I think they do. I think TCU wins this one by a field goal, like the Horned Frogs at home. Now moving on to those aforementioned Kansas State Wildcats, who picked up the huge win in Norman last week to answer what was a head scratcher against Tulane. And Big 12 teams have had a tendency to do that. Remember the year it was at Iowa State lost to like Arkansas State. You had 3 or 4 teams losing to weird teams. And this year it was Kansas State that did it. But back on the right track. 7th in the country in rushing, more run game out of the Big 12. Deuce Vaughn, guys. I mean, you can't get much better than this kid, man. He's 8th in the country in rushing, leads the Big 12 at 117 a game. And oh, by the way, here, speaking of teams looking for respect, here comes Texas Tech off of a win again over arch rival Texas, and they've got all the momentum in the world all of a sudden. Of course, Red Raiders throw it around. They're 3rd in the country in passing, kind of a clash of styles here. Jack, this would be a big win to ride some momentum for the Wildcats. It's not going to be an easy task, I don't think, though. Vegas has it as Kansas State -8. Not sure about that either, but what are your thoughts on this one?
Deuce Vaughn, Deuce Miles. I just love deuces. Throw up the deuces. Anyway, Kansas State at home for me. I think Texas Tech, great win last week. It's hard to go from up here on that emotion. They got fined the $50,000 for the Big 12. That was worth it. Every team will take that. But I think this week it'll be Kansas State.
Brandon.
Deuces.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech, you go back to that game, and I think I didn't even mention this in the Texas W breakdown, but Texas's biggest thing is giving up fourth quarter leads. They've done it almost every single, I think they've done it every game that they played in. Alabama obviously got that late. And so that was a big story of that, is Texas did shoot themselves in the foot. And didn't they fumble, Jack? Didn't they fumble the ball in overtime too?
Yeah.
So, Texas Tech did play a hell of a game, but I'm not sold on that. Give me defense, give me tough, give me gritty. Kansas State, obviously, there possibly could be that letdown. You've beaten Oklahoma, but you've been there before. I like Kansas State, and to me, right now, I think they're one of the front runners for the conference.
Wade.
I cannot get Jack saying Jack like deuces out of my mind. It's gonna haunt me evening. So, but with this team, Kansas State, if they can beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma, they can beat Texas Tech at home. Give me Kansas State.
Well, the problem with that, Wade, is that Kansas State didn't beat Tulane at home. That's what's kind of worrying me a little bit.
Looking past them.
If it wasn't for my friends in Manhattan, it's the only thing in the world that's keeping me here. I really like Texas Tech on the road. I think 8 points is way too much.
Yeah, it is.
Kansas State on a field goal, barely, and definitely showing my bias here.
Agree.
Like this spot for Texas Tech, though. Another Big 12 game. Let's just stay in. Like I said, you can pick any of them. There's another one. Did we pick every Big 12 game? I think we did.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, there's some of the best games in the country, and here's another one. Iowa State, fresh off of a narrow home loss at Baylor. Really good game, by the way. That was one of the best games in the early window last week. They're on the road at that upstart Kansas team we've mentioned here a few times. To put in perspective, just kind of where these programs have been and where they are. Did you know that Kansas leads this all-time series 50-45? Imagine being the school that lost to Kansas 50 times in football. That's where Iowa State's been. But of course, neither one of those teams are there now. Here we go again. Kansas, 8th in the country in rushing. Iowa State, 14th in total defense. Jalen Daniels, we talked about him. Here's one thing you may not realize. 7th in the country in passer rating. 188.24. Know he can run it, but he also slings it, and most of all, he makes good decisions. It's a team that is really hot. They're at home. Another chance to make a statement after, as Brandon said, for some reason they're not in the AP poll, and the only reason that can be is because of the name on the front of their jersey, because they've certainly played like a top 25 team so far. Jack, one more ought to get them there. Do they get it this week?
I think we see them in the polls next week. They do get it this week. Kansas, man, what are they scoring, over 50 points a game?
Yeah, racking it up.
Yeah, Iowa State is not keeping up with that this week.
Brandon.
Yeah, it's a tough game to pick, honestly, outside the fact that Kansas has played so well, because Iowa State's played tremendous on defense, but offense obviously has had its struggles due to the fact they've lost a lot of productivity. So, this is going to come down to the obvious. Can you contain Kansas, and can you make it into an ugly game? I mean, that's really how Iowa State's going to win this. You're going to have to make this into what Ryan said, what was 11-5 against Iowa or whatever when they were playing Iowa. So, and I'm going to tell you what, if Kansas wins this game, I mean, they've already talking about Kansas's coach, by the way, which I think is just a crime. much like they do Matt Campbell when he's successful. Is he going to stay at Kansas? I don't know if you boys have seen them stories already. So, but I'm going to go Iowa State. I love Matt Campbell, and I feel like Kansas is due a letdown. I think Kansas is a great team, and I do think they should be in the top 25 this week. But I think Matt Campbell gets it done. I think he finds some ways to make it ugly. They've always done a great job scheming against offenses. There's film now on this offense enough to be able to prepare. I like Iowa State in an ugly one.
Wait,
I have been a Kansas apologist to many of my friends all season long. So I'm not going to quit now. I actually think Iowa State's going to win this game, but for this pick purposes, I can't go against Kansas. I've been hyping them up. If you win in Morgantown, you can beat Iowa State at home. So give me Rock Talk Jayhawk. Give me Kansas.
guys, when it comes to defense in the Big 12, I trust three men: Mike Gundy, Dave Aranda, and Matt Campbell. I think Iowa State's got enough defense to slow Kansas down on the road. And coming off of a loss, this is an important game for Iowa State. I think Iowa State finds a way to win a low-scoring game. I think it's like 24-21, Cyclones. This is a 17.5-point game, but it's making its appearance here because we got two ranked teams. Number 2, Alabama, 17.5-point favorites on the road at number 20, Arkansas. How about 15 in a row in this series for the Crimson Tide, dating back to September 23rd, 2006. By the way, that's 3 years later than the last time North Marion's beaten Fairmont Senior, for some perspective. Bama, 6th in the country in offense, 2nd in defense, 1st in everything else. Arkansas, 9th in rushing. Bama, 10th. One kid we need to shout out here, Raheem Sanders for Arkansas. 4th in the nation in rushing yards, averaging 127 a game. Jack, footing on the ground is often hard to find against the Crimson Tide, but one would think Sanders is going to have to find it for Arkansas to have a shot. Can Arkansas clear any pass for its good running back this week?
No. There's college football, and then there's Alabama. So Alabama it is. It's simple.
Brandon.
Yeah, Arkansas feels like these last couple seasons where they've been ranked in the top 15. You feel like the Dana Holgerson coached WU team, where it's like they have some talent, they have some plays, but they make so many mistakes. I mean, there were so many in that Texas A&M game where you're just scratching your head, and they had a fumble there and at the goal line, the red zone there in the first half, and they made so many mistakes. And I don't see anything different here against Alabama. I can see this thing kind of because I don't really think. And here's the thing, and as soon as you think Alabama is pedestrian, they turn it on. Every time you're like, oh, this team, they're just not the same Alabama team. And then Nick Saban figures it out, and they go on a win streak, and they win a national championship. So I think this is the type of game Nick Saban just beats the hell out of Arkansas. I like the 17-point spread as well. And give me Crimson Tide.
Wade.
I certainly do love saying woo pig suey, but there is no way in hell I would ever pick Arkansas to beat Alabama in football in any given year, probably to the end of time. So give me Alabama.
Maybe not even basketball.
That's good that you won't, because I will.
Wow.
Arkansas, huge upset at home, knocks off Alabama, breaks the streak, and shakes up the country. I like Arkansas by a field goal. How about that?
Alabama fans jump off a bridge.
Okay, Texas should have got him.
Luckily, there's no bridge. Luckily, there's no bridge in Alabama high enough to kill them. So there you go. All right, go ahead.
That's true. Back to the Big 12 for our last game of the 5-game set. Well, number 9, Oklahoma State, the highest rated Big 12 team. They're 3-0, and they are on the road for a rejuvenated Baylor squad that picked up a big road win last week. Oklahoma State's 8th in total offense. Spencer Sanders, 14th in passing. He's throwing for 305 a game, but more importantly for him, 10 touchdowns, just 1 pick. That's kind of the part of his game that has been missing in recent years. Should be a great one. Baylor's actually favored by 2.5 at home here. I think that basically all the Big 12 games should be 2.5. I don't know what they're doing with WU Texas, but another close one here, Jack. How's this one turning out?
Yeah, this is a coin flip for me, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma State on the road. Love Gundy. He's a man. Did you know he's a man?
He's 40. It's 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably 50 now, but
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to reenact that in the different new age.
All right, Brandon.
Yeah. Rematch of the Big 12 championship game, boys.
Good point.
Yeah, I think obviously you can go back and look at a couple things, even that Big 12 title game that Oklahoma State could have won that. I guess Baylor could have said the same thing, but ultimately they pulled it out. But Ryan, you mentioned something that was big. Spencer Sanders, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Sanders was so bad at, especially turning the ball over and just in most important situation. I think he even did that in the Big 12 title game. If I remember correctly, it's been a while, but I do like Oklahoma State. They're so quiet every year. You talk about TCU quietly being 3-0. Oklahoma State every single year, we've talked about it. They're like, hey, we're just over here winning football games. We're just going to win 10, 11 games.
Yep.
Nobody's talking about us in the state of Oklahoma because there's that Sooners over there, but we're just going to, continue to win football games. So I'm picking Oklahoma State, although I think, Baylor, I mean, it's like you said, this is a toss up. Every Big 12 game should be 2 points at this point. But I'm taking Oklahoma State.
Wade.
Not so fast, my friends. It's a coin flip game. I think these two have split the last 8 games. That shows you how close this series has been. Oklahoma State, I think, has beaten a bunch of Class A teams all season. They beat nobody. So as when it comes down to coin flip games, give me the home team. So give me Baylor.
Yeah, I'm with Wade. I like the more tested team here. Baylor's already went on the road to BYU, and though they lost that game and went to overtime, it wasn't like they were handled by any means. And I don't care, man. Going to Ames and winning a game, Ames is not an easy place to play, as WU fans can attest to. I just love Dave Aranda. I love the job he does. I love his defensive game plan, and I think they're better offensively this year than they even were last year. So I think that was a big win for Baylor last week. A lot of people had them ranked highest of anyone in the Big 12 in their preseason polls, and I think they're going to start showing why right here. I think this is a big win for Baylor at home. Let's get to a couple ACC matchups to finish it off. For my money last week, the game of the week was Wake Forest and Clemson. That was outstanding stuff.
Outstanding. Watched the entire game.
And Wake Forest, now ranked 22nd in the country, probably feeling like they should have had a huge win last week, and they probably should have and I hated to put them on here, guys. I really did, but it was time. Number 23, Florida State. Speaking of teams that are a little bit underrated, the Noles 7-point favorites at home in this one. Lead the series 30-8, but Wake's won 2 in a row over the Noles. They beat them 35-14 last year. Getting it done in different ways. Florida State's 13th in rushing, Wake's 16th in passing. Of course, behind Sam Hartman, who is still he's what a story and what a player that kid is. Florida State with another chance to make another statement here, try to climb the polls. Wake licking some wounds, Jack, trying to get right on the road. How's this one go?
Probably not the week Wake gets right on the road. I'll go with Florida State and the home favorite there.
Brandon.
Yeah, I was unfortunate at Wake Forest. And by the way, I apologize to Clemson fans because that offense looked really good. The kid at quarterback, which I'll never be able to pronounce his last name, but that kid is completely improved. We talked about quarterback play improving. It's close.
Ulangalele, isn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that. But he's not the same quarterback as last year. So I do apologize saying that they're like a notch above Iowa's offense. They're completely different. So I give them a lot of credit, especially how powerful that Wake Forest offense is. And dude, I love Sam Hartman. You talk about a quarterback that's able to just show up in big time moments. And both those teams, you're right, Ryan. That was the best game last week. That was outstanding football. You hate to see either team lose that game, but and I mean, your Seminoles, I mean, the thing about them is I've watched them twice. And the thing that's impressive about them is they're able to win, and they haven't had this, obviously, as you know, in a couple seasons, but they're able to clamp down when they need to stop. I think that's the biggest thing is they've given away games a lot of times. But I think Wake Forest's offense just a little too much. I hate to say this because I'd like to see them. It's good for college football. Florida State's doing well. But I think Wake Forest gets it. I think they rebound. Now, this could be a situation where Wake Forest is still, this is like a double loss for them, right? They lose the Clemson game close, they go to Florida State, and they lose that game too. But I'm taking Wake Forest.
Wade.
Wake Forest has lost the last 5 times. They went to Tallahassee. I think they got a really good shot of winning this game, but I think that Chiefs going to take that spear, plant that thing in the ground, light that thing on fire, and Florida State's going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys think I'm going to jinx this thing, you're out of your mind. I'm taking Wake Forest. I like Sam Hartman a lot in all seriousness, and that's respect for him, man. I think that kid's great. I don't think Wake goes down this season without a fight, and yeah, I'm not about to jinx this Florida State start, so I'm going to take Wake Forest and be safe. Finishing off with Brandon's NC State Wolfpack, undefeated, 4-0, ranked number 10, entirely too high. They play at number 5 Clemson this week, who's also 4-0. We mentioned them a minute ago. Huge win for the Tigers last week. 6.5-point favorites in this one. Clemson leading all-time series, 59-29-1. Although NC State won this one 27-21 last year, Tigers have won 15 of the last 17 here over NC State. Jack, this is a huge game. I think if we had a game of the week tag on a college game, this may be it. Clemson with a big statement last week. Can they follow it up this week?
I think they do. Like Brandon said, the quarterback's playing well. The ukulele, whatever his name is.
Uwangalele.
Uwangalele.
Something like that.
Great name, though, by the way. Deuces Uwangalele is a great name if anybody's looking for one. But yeah, Clemson at home. I'll take the Tigers.
Brandon.
Yeah, I've been sold on NC State as much as I obviously root for them. Gibby over there on defense. Clemson, like I said, that offense, and I think it has a huge win there on the road to go toe-to-toe with that type of offense at Wake Forest. And that's just going to build confidence. And let's not be fooled the fact that Clemson isn't as talented as a lot of as teams like Alabama and Ohio State. The recruiting level has just been astronomical since they won national titles. So let's not act like Clemson's like some team just to be written off. And Dabo Swinney, as much as I don't care for him, is a good coach. So if they're going to be thinking also about that last year NC State. I watched that game, and obviously Clemson had a chance to still win that, despite the fact their offense was terrible in that game. So I like it, man. Them running down and all that. So give me Clemson.
Wade.
Yeah, I've not seen NC State ranked this high since probably Jack was born about 350 years ago. So they going to Death Valley and beating Clemson. Clemson.
I love how we got the we're winding down. We get that. It's awesome. All right, guys.
Oh God, yeah.
I think Wade picked Clemson, or was it Clem?
I don't know. I think he's hang on. The carrier pigeon just landed in the back.
Give me
porch.
Clemson.
I think last week's win was the turning point for Clemson, man. I look for them to run the table. I think they're going to be one of your 4 playoff teams now. And, as good as Uwangalele, I'm going to try it again. I'm still not sure I'm right. So if I'm not, I'm sorry. As good as he played last week, when Clemson needed to win the game, it was the defense that got the stop. And, Wake Forest offense is legit. They're going to score on anybody they play. And Clemson's defense was able to get enough stops. I still think it's an elite unit. I think Clemson wins a low-scoring game here. I think NC State's defense is a little bit better than Wake's, too. So I think we get back into the 20s with this one. I think Clemson has enough to win. So there it is, man. Finish it up.
All right. That does it for our pick'em this week. Thank you, Wade, for your Make-A-Wish internet. Appreciate you and you coming on. And can you tell us the kid that you're sponsoring this week?
Somebody's Connor's Cure, so I think it's Connor. So one of those Connor's Cure.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for gracious for your time, dude.
Go Mothman.
All right, go Bigfoot. All right. So Chris Wade making his way out. Want to thank our sponsor, the tent guy, John Wheeler over there off 25. By the way, love the fact that you said he waited and he's like, not so fast. When you're like, wait, he was just sitting there. I don't know if anybody caught that word. That was awesome. They get a tent guy over there off 25 Michigan Avenue, quarter mile from the St. Albans Nitro Bridge. Probably 10 needs. Give the tent guy John Wheeler a call. 304-380-2935. Again, 2935. Boys, it's going to be a hell of a week. Way better slate this week than last week. I went 10-10. You guys went 12-8, and John Wheeler went 13-7. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be fun. Great week for high school. Great week for college football. We'll see what happens. Thank you everybody for watching, giving us some insight and emails and all that stuff. So appreciate it. All right, we'll catch up with you next week here on the Brand Lowe Show with Ryan Pritt with the beautiful Jack Withrow.
Deuces.